discuss with Congressman Adam Schiff, the top Democrat on the House Intel Committee. Let's start with that idea. The president is just wrong about Guantanamo Bay being a better way to get quick prosecutions of terror suspects than the federal judiciary system. Every metric proves that. But are you surprised that he actually changed a position to face facts?
Well, I'm not surprised that his initial outburst proved to be wrong-headed and ill-considered. It is sometimes surprising to see him recognize that, although I'm sure he would tell you that's not why he changed his view on it.
Well, let's take the words on their face. You think he deserves a little bit of love? You know, sometimes you support somebody doing the right thing, you get more of that same type of behavior.
Well, I don't think he deserves much love for saying that the U.S. justice system is a joke and a laughingstock. And this isn't the first time that he's taken potshots at our justice system. Of course, when judges have ruled against him on the Muslim ban, he's called them only so-called judges. He's tried to discredit the justice system. He has also tried to discredit the media. And these assaults on our mainstream institutions are having an effect. They are eroding confidence. And I think that's a tremendous disservice. So, no, I don't particularly think he deserves a lot of love for this.
Yeah, that seems pretty clear. All right, so let's go to what he's saying about your investigation, which he still sees as largely a hoax. Now, he also said to the New York Times, "I'm not under investigation. As you know, this has nothing to do with me." Is that true?
I can't comment on who's under investigation. I'll leave that to Bob Mueller to disclose or not disclose.
Why not? Why can't you talk about it?
Well, I'm not permitted to talk about it. And all I can tell you, Chris, is that the people that were indicted, Manafort and Gates, obviously played deep roles within the Trump campaign. George Papadopoulos, I think the allegations that he pled guilty demonstrate that for all the president's talk that there's no evidence of any collusion, there's no hint or suggestion of collusion. Just don't stand up in the face of this guilty plea.
Is he under investigation by your committee?
Mr. Papadopoulos was one of the witnesses on our list. We had intended to bring him in. We still intend to bring him in. It's my hope that the cooperation agreement that he's reached with the government will require not only his cooperation with Mueller's team, but with congressional investigators as well. I think there's a lot that he could tell us.
I'm asking about the president. Is he under investigation by your committee?
Well, our committee isn't investigating people in the sense of bringing about a prosecution. That's not our role.
Right.
But we are looking at the whole range of actors in terms of what kind of relationship did they have with the Russians? Was there any coordination of their efforts with the Russians? So we're not excluding anybody from that. We are determined, at least on our side of the aisle, we certainly are, to follow the facts where they lead. We hope the Republicans are as well. So, you know, Mueller has a very different responsibility, obviously, and there's a specific connotation to being a suspect in a criminal investigation as opposed to a witness or a person of interest. And I'll have to leave it to Mr. Mueller to answer those kind of questions.
All right. The ads that were all over social media, we now know that the exposure was certainly in excess of 100 million Americans. We're looking at some of them right now. A couple of points. One is, do you believe that they're being forthcoming, the operators of these sites, in terms of how many ads they're sharing and their desire to do something about it?
I think they're certainly providing us with the evidence that they've obtained, what they have now discovered on their platforms. I think many of us feel because initially they didn't think there was any Russian advertising, and then there was some, and then there's more. I think many of us feel that there's probably more yet to come. The advertising, of course, is only one small subset. The far bigger impact is what's called the organic material. That is the fake pages that got people to like them and then, you know, or encourage people to protest or rally.
Well, what can they do about it? I mean, this is a sticky wicket. You know, this is one of those things that looks good on its face. Yes, shut it down. None of this fake stuff. How do you define what's fake? How do you define what's real? How do you see it as a balance with the First Amendment? I mean, these sites are all about giving people opportunity. Now you're asking them to censor? I mean, this is, I get that people like the feel of it. But this is a tricky thing to do, is it not?
Well, it is tricky, and there's some very difficult questions here, but there are also some pretty simple questions. One of the simple questions is, should we require that political ads carry a disclaimer the way they do when they're on your show or when they're in print media? And I think the answer to that is absolutely yes, and I think we are going to require that. It's also the case, I think, that there's an easy, bright line in terms of ferreting out foreign government content particularly that which is aimed at our elections. Now, while that's an easy legal line to draw, and that's an easy policy line to draw, the tech companies can use our help in terms of the intelligence community when we identify, Russian troll farms. If we can provide that information to these companies, it'll facilitate their taking down this propaganda. There are more difficult questions that come up when you're talking about ordinary citizens, ordinary Russians or ordinary people of other countries who ought to be able to participate on social media. And how do you draw the line then when those foreign parties are trying to influence our election outcomes in violation of our system? That's a more difficult thing to police. And I'll mention one other issue too, Chris, and that is far from just this being a Russia issue. What about the effect of these algorithms on our society? Algorithms that get us to focus on the platform, but may do so because they have content that goes viral easily, which makes us angry or fearful or divides American from American. What's the societal obligation of these platforms?
I hear it, but it gets sticky in the confines of the law. We look forward to seeing the path ahead.